Believe that there are some keys to getting prayers answered in the Spirit. I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, if you are tired of prayers being unanswered, you need to pay attention to what I'm preaching to you tonight, because I'm going to give you something that gives you a key on how to get prayers answered from God. There was a very powerful prophet that lived back in the 50s and 60s, died way too young. His name was Verbal Bean. He was a very powerful man of God. He was a man of prayer. He was a powerful man of prayer. He said there were two types of prayers that God answers. He said there are two types of praying that will get God's attention. He said the first type of prayer that God answers is a memorial prayer. It's something that you pray about over and over and over, and then God answers it. He said, like Cornelius, when he prayed so many times that the angel of the Lord said, your prayer and your giving has come up as a memorial before God. He said it was like this. He said if a man wanted to buy a suit but could not afford the suit, he would go into the suit store with the money he had and put the suit on layaway with the funds that he had. Next time he got paid, he would put some more funds down on the suit. He would not leave with the suit. He would leave without the suit each time he went in to make a payment. But the more payments he made on the suit, when he could make them, there would become a day when he would finally pay off the suit. And when the last payment was made, he could take what he had been paying for home with him. He said that's how it is in your prayer life. You can be praying about something over and over and over and not take the answer home. If you keep praying and you keep believing, there's going to come a day when you bring the answer home with you because you've paid it in full. Hallelujah.
It's coming. There's no escape. On Halloween, the veil between this world and the next will lift. And then all hell breaks loose.
Let me show you what Halloween is. While Halloween masquerades as harmless, childish fun, it's serious business in the occult world. Witchcraft, Wicca, Satanism, and paganism believe on the night of Halloween, devils and spirits are unleashed. They perform their most hideous and potent rituals on the night of Halloween. Halloween glorifies death and worship to Baal or the devil. Now we can go back deep into paganism with Nimrod and Semiramis to find its pagan roots. But much of what is done in Halloween comes from the ancient Druids.
When did Halloween begin?
And its ancient origins go back to the old Celtic calendar. And the old Celtic tribes divided the year between a light half and a dark half. And Samhain, their ancient holiday, was a precursor to our Halloween and was the beginning of the dark half.
Halloween began over 2,000 years ago in the 2nd or 3rd BC among the Celtics and their pagan priests called the Druids. The Druids are thought to be by many history's king of the occult. Witchcraft, Satanism, paganism, and virtually all facets of the occult acquired instruction from the Druids. Halloween can be traced directly back to Samhain, the ancient Celtic harvest festival honoring the Lord of the Dead, also known as the Lord of Darkness. Druids were devil worshippers. Going back to the Druids, because again, this tradition comes from them, the Druids performed horrifying human sacrifices and other vile rituals during Samhain. Let there be no doubt, Samhain night was a terrifying covenant with death and with hell. The Druids believed during Samhain the mystical veil separating the dead from the living opened. The Druids taught that these Roman spirits loosed on Samhain when searching for a body to possess. Druid priests led the people to diabolical worship ceremonies in which horses, cats, black sheep, oxen, human beings, and other offerings were rounded up, stuffed into wicker cages, and burned to death. This was done to appease Lord Samhain and keep spirits from harming them. Again, Halloween has always been a celebration of death. This is also where the origin of bonfires come from. The word bonfire actually comes from bone fire. which was all that was left after the sacrificial ceremonies were ended. To obtain offerings for these bonfires, Druid priests would go from home to home asking for animals and humans. Those who gave were promised prosperity in the coming year, and those who did not were cursed and threatened. Now, the word doesn't look how it's pronounced. Samhain is a night celebrating death and hell. It was the Druids' most important ritual. It was a terrifying night of human sacrifices, and it was the original Halloween. So Halloween and Samhain are the same thing, but let's keep going. The Druids' New Year started on November 1st, so obviously their New Year's Eve is October 31st. The Druids believed that on this night, all of the people who died in the past year would rise up and search for the passageway to the netherworld. On this night, the passageway or veil between both worlds was its thinnest. Their lord, Samhain, would roam the earth in search of these souls to capture them and take them to the world of darkness. To this day, some people put lights in the windows to help the dead find their way and keep Lord Samhain away from taking them. The World Book Encyclopedia states, the Celts believed that the dead could walk among the living at this time. The living could visit with the dead. This ancient belief was even paired with the ability of some people to communicate with these spirits of the dead. And at Samhain, this was something to be embraced, even celebrated. They felt they surely could find some way to capitalize with communicating to these spirits, like gathering occult power or the spirits giving them knowledge, etc.
There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee. Thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God. For these nations which thou shalt possess hearkened unto observers of times, and unto diviners. But as for thee, the Lord thy God hath not suffered thee so to do.
So this is where Halloween and its custom started, with the Celtics and their pagan devil-worshipping priests, the Druids.
How did these ancient traditions survive into our modern era? In Western culture, they were preserved by, of all people, Christians. In a bizarre twist of history, as Christianity spread, it adopted and reimagined pagan folkways rather than try to stamp them out. This made it easier to convert pagans. A key pagan festival destined to get a Christian makeover was Lemuria, when celebrants placated the dead, culminating on May 13th.
Of all the different days that they have in the Roman calendar to celebrate the dead, it was the spookiest. So on the Lemuria, what are called the larvae, the ghosts of the departed, would come up and haunt people.
To quell the dead, pagan Romans poured milk onto their graves or offered them little cakes. But the Church co-opted Lemuria in 609 AD, turning May 13th into All Saints' Day, a day to honor the most holy of dead Christians.
Setting aside this day was an attempt to Christianize this very pagan festival, and yet at the same time what it did was it kept a lot of the same themes going.
The Christianized version of Lemuria was such a success that church leaders made a decision that eventually gave rise to Halloween. They moved All Saints, or Hallows Day, to November 1st to drain the life out of pagan sah-win. Because Samhain fell on the night of October 31st, before All Hallows Day on November 1st, people started calling Samhain All Hallows Evening, the evening before All Hallows Day. This shortened into All Hallows Even, and finally into Halloween. And then, to be safe, the church went one step further, adding a holiday to honor not just saints, but everyday Christians. November 2nd became All Souls Day, a church-sanctioned holiday to honor the departed.
This is real important for Halloween because this is where Halloween gets its association with dead souls, death, and the supernatural again.
So thank the Church for inspiring the creepy essentials of Halloween.
The Roman Catholic Church adopted it to appease their converts and try to place a holy name and cause around a pagan, devil-worshipping tradition. This is not biblical in the slightest. In Latin America, this time is also known as the Day of the Dead, again, with people praying to the dead. This is the day where people worship the dead.
Blessed is the man that heareth me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the posts of my doors. For whoso findeth me, findeth life, and shall obtain favor of the Lord. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me love death.
But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me love death.
Love death. Love death. Love death. Love death. Love death.
Second type of prayer is a current prayer. He said a current prayer is the second type of prayer that God answers. It's a situation that you don't have a long time for God to do this. You need God to do it now. Does that make sense? Yeah, you can have a lost loved one. That's a memorial thing. You just pray until God does something. But you could have a situation where you need God to intervene now. And when you have that type of prayer, memorial prayer is not what you need. You can't just go bring the name up or bring the situation up in passing and say, God, I'm making another payment on this. I need you to come through. When the situation is desperate, it requires desperation in your prayers. A current prayer, you can't come with a situation, Brother Grant, that's tragic and real and severe and come to God and give God you know, Lord, what we're going through right now, and I need you to come through because the deadline is this week and we have an answer, we need some peace, we need a miracle, and walk out. There's no desperation there. You're giving God the right facts, but you're not giving God the heart behind the facts. You're showing God, I'm really not serious about this. Because a current prayer requires desperation. It requires you to be, I need an answer now. I don't have 60 years to pray about this. We need a miracle in our house. That is desperation. That's a current prayer. And a current prayer, God will hear. And I want to show you something, that the Lord answers prayers while you're praying them. I know that we've got God in this box that if I pray today, he can come through by Thursday, or he can come through by tomorrow, he can come through by next month. But actually God, the Bible said, I can hear you before you even say what you're going to say. In fact, Jesus, I know what you're saying before you even ask.